Violette brings out a 6-foot-long folding. Violette1st. Violette1st. Bill's Chaotic Day Part 1. Story for Rocky and Leah. Introduction. Hello and welcome to another Violette1st story. This story is all about Bill losing his sanity at a Burger King over a slot machine. Characters: Rocky, Leah, Violette, Bill and William. Violette is a 52-year-old mother. William is Violette's 17-year-old son. Bill is William's 58-year-old, morbidly obese man-child father and also Violette's husband. Rocky and Leah are 17-year-old females, best friends with William, and live with the Anderson family. Leah and Rocky share a bunk bed in the Anderson residence. Now sit back and enjoy the story. Plot: it is a calm and quiet February morning in Mount Airy, Maryland. Violette is walking downstairs at an early 3:30 in the morning. 2 minutes later Violette speeds off somewhere. 1 hour later Violette drags in $300 of ingredients. 5 minutes later Violette starts to cook breakfast at 4:45 in the morning. 15 minutes later William starts to help Violette to cook Bill's breakfast. 3 hours later Violette brings out a 6-foot-long folding table to Bill's chair. 2 minutes later Rocky walks out from her bedroom after getting ready for the day. William then tells Rocky she needs to help with Bill's breakfast. Rocky then gulps with fear when walking into the kitchen and seeing piles of food and a massive mess. 4 minutes later Rocky starts to lift Bill's oversized breakfast to his chair. William then grabs Violette's SUV keys. 1 minute later William speeds off somewhere. 20 minutes later William drags in a cart that has 16 25-gallon oil drums that are filled with olive oil, and 26 25-gallon drums filled with maple syrup. 5 seconds later Violette grabs a garden hose for a straw, as Leah walks outside for her daily run. 15 minutes later the oil drums are all set up, with the 42 oil drums connected through one massive straw. 5 seconds later Rocky brings out the final bits of Bill's 4-ton meal. A few minutes later Violette hears creaking coming from Bill's basement bedroom. 5 minutes later the basement stairs start groaning and creaking under the weight from a short-tempered mountain range with the mental capacity of a used diaper and a non-existent impulse control. 1 minute later a 328,573-pound Bill walks to his chair. Bill then asks where his breakfast is. 2 seconds later Violette tells Bill about his breakfast. Bill then sits down, beyond hungry for his meal. 5 seconds later Bill grabs a gallon of mayonnaise. 5 seconds later Bill starts eating his breakfast. 9 seconds later Leah walks in from the kitchen, seeing the total chaos of Bill's breakfast. Bill then shouts for his small helping of mayonnaise. A few seconds later Violette drags a hose that is connected to a pool that is filled with over 3,655 gallons of mayonnaise. 1 minute later Bill starts drinking his cool mayonnaise and monstrous breakfast. William, Leah, Rocky, and Violette then walk upstairs to chat while Bill eats his 50,000-pound feast. 1 hour later Bill screams that he wants more food. 3 seconds later Leah and Rocky are told to wait upstairs. William and Violette then tell Bill they are bringing down a 3,000-pound cake. 10 seconds later Violette and William charge downstairs with steel spike bats. Violette then screams like a sociopath as she slams the spikes into Bill's back. 3 seconds later William starts to beat the daylights out of Bill with a pickaxe. 2 minutes later Violette shouts upstairs. Violette then shouts for Rocky and Leah to get downstairs with the shotguns. 5 seconds later Leah and Rocky begin to shoot Bill several times. 10 minutes later Violette and William throw their weapons into the weapons closet in Violette's bedroom. Rocky and Leah then put the shotguns into Violette's gun barrel. 5 seconds later the four of them walk downstairs as a massive crash occurs. Violette then runs down to see her glass figurine cases dragged outside, from a winch system that goes out of the front door. 4 seconds later Violette screams with pure terror when she sees their living room TV is on the floor and emitting smoke. William then watches with pure shock as the figurine case starts to get dragged out of the front door. 4 seconds later Rocky, William, and Leah start to drag the smoking TV to the kitchen door. 1 minute later Violette helps Rocky, Leah, and William to throw the TV into a pile of snow. Violette then sees her mountain range-sized husband dragging a glass figurine case to his truck. 3 seconds later Violette sees it is her priceless glass figurine case. 1 second later William and Rocky run around the house to prevent Bill from driving off, as Violette and Leah run to confront Bill. 5 seconds later Bill slams the driver's door closed to his truck, locking it. Violette then begins to furiously pound on the glass, grunting like a rhino. Bill then sees Leah climb onto the roof of Bill's car, trying to get him. Rocky and William then charge towards Bill's truck as it powers it up. 5 seconds later Bill starts to rev his engine. Leah then screams that she is barely clinging on. William then jumps onto the hood of the engine, climbing to Leah. 5 seconds later Bill shouts for his jerky son to get off. Leah then gets pushed into the bed of the truck, as William crashes onto the truck bed. 4 seconds later Bill speeds off, with his son and Leah stuck in the truck bed. Rocky then runs to grab Violette's SUV keys. 8 minutes later Rocky and Violette speed off to hunt down Bill, after attaching a flat trailer to the SUV. A few seconds later Rocky opens an app. Rocky then says Bill is speeding down I-70. A few seconds later Rocky answers a call from William. 2 minutes later Rocky tells Violette that William and Leah jumped onto the sidewalk before they got onto the highway. 3 minutes later Violette parks the SUV on the side of the road. Rocky then gets out of the passenger seat, as William hops in. 2 seconds later Violette sighs with anger and sadness when seeing her glass figurine cases destroyed and burning on the grass. William then explains that Bill stopped here, threw the figurine case to the grass and lit it on fire. Leah then says she and William got left behind as Bill sped off. 1 minute later Violette speeds off to chase down Bill. 5 minutes later Violette sees Bill's truck is going 200 miles per hour, and is 140 miles away. Violette then says they are going into Bill mode level 8. William then gulps with fear. 3 seconds later Rocky and Leah ask what is going to happen. William tells them that the SUV is going to go from a max speed of 130 miles per hour to 970 miles per hour. 4 seconds later Violette presses the button. 4 minutes later William tells Rocky and Leah to get ready. William then jumps into the middle row, in the middle seat. 15 seconds later William buckles up with Rocky and Leah on different sides. William then hugs his friends with one arm each, as Bill mode finishes getting warmed up. 5 seconds later Violette turns on the quantum energy core for infinite fuel. 2 minutes later Violette tells them to get ready. 4 seconds later the SUV goes into autopilot mode, connected to a GPS in Bill's truck with live location. 10 seconds later the SUV counts down from 30. 40 seconds later the SUV speeds up to 100 miles per hour in 2 seconds. Leo and Rocky then scream at the top of their lungs as they start rapidly speeding up to 970 miles an hour. 2 seconds later Rocky and Leo start crying as they rapidly reach the sound barrier. Meanwhile, Bill is speeding along, completely unaware of the SUV. 2 minutes later Bill pulls onto the shoulder, because he needs a break from driving like a madman. 30 seconds later Bill gets out of the truck. A few seconds later Bill realizes he has an hour of peace before he is dead meat. Bill then grabs a folding chair, and sits down next to his truck. Bill then starts reading the newspaper, blissfully unaware that the SUV is going almost 1,000 miles an hour. 2 minutes later Bill starts reading the comic section, as the SUV is now under 100 miles away and 6 minutes away. 4 minutes later the ground starts to rumble. 5 seconds later Bill looks up from his newspaper, worried about what's to come. 3 seconds later the wind starts howling, as Bill continues reading his newspaper. 9 seconds later the ground starts to shake a little, the road grumbling from some massive vehicle. Bill then realizes he needs to get out of the way. 5 seconds later Bill ignores the signs of the impending doom as he flips to the job ad section. 10 seconds later Bill runs to grab the tracker that Violette installed as the ground begins to vibrate. 9 seconds later Bill throws it onto a different car, messing with Violette. Bill then gets the idea he is safe for the moment. 5 seconds later Bill sits down in his folding chair, chuckling thinking he has outsmarted them, blissfully unaware of the chaos to come. Little does he know 2 tons of punishment day is barreling down the highway at Mach 1.26. 4 seconds later a loud piercing screech can be faintly heard. So Bill gulps with fear. 3 seconds later Bill hears a faint car. Bill then gulps when he thinks it might be a massive heavy car coming down the highway. 2 seconds later the wind starts to pick up as the car approaches. 5 seconds later Bill sees a hazy effect in the background. Bill then sees a speck coming in the distance. 4 seconds later Bill throws his chair into his truck bed. 5 seconds later the air becomes dry as the wind picks up, making an already chilly day colder than ever. Bill starts to shiver as the wind chill quickly picks up. 3 seconds later Bill grips his truck, beyond worried for what's to come. 8 seconds later Bill gets into his truck bed. 3 seconds later Bill's truck starts to shake as the car in the distance gets closer. 5 seconds later a huge sonic boom occurs from the distance. 1 second later Bill braces for impact. 3 seconds later Bill sees the smallest crackles of flames in the distance. Bill then gulps with fear as he sees the asphalt is vibrating violently. 2 seconds later Bill's ears pop from a screeching sound. Bill then sees a tower of smoke in the distance, that is getting closer. 3 seconds later Bill then looks up to see some flames in the distance. 4 seconds later a car engine is heard roaring in the distance. Bill then tightens his grip on his truck bed walls. 2 seconds later a louder sonic boom is heard in the distance. 3 seconds later Bill's truck starts to rattle from something, as the road begins to warp slightly. Bill then braces for impact, as he gulps with fear. 4 seconds later Bill's truck begins to shake a bit as the car is rapidly approaching. 5 seconds later Bill feels the ground begins to shake violently as the road begins to warp more by the second. 2 seconds later Bill sees a car is coming closer in the distance. 3 seconds later Bill's body begins to shake and vibrate from the car's speed. 1 second later Bill screams super loudly from a painful eardrum explosion. 1 second later Bill begins to cry as the air around him begins to rip apart. Bill then screams with horror as massive flames are seen in the distance. 2 seconds later the tension builds more and more as the car is approaching at breakneck speeds. Bill then gulps when he thinks it could be the SUV, coming to get him. 1 second later Bill screams very loudly as the road starts to shake violently, thus making his body shake like an earthquake. Bill then screams at the top of his lungs. 2 seconds later a huge sonic boom goes off. Bill then looks up. 3 seconds later Bill sees the SUV. 1 second later the SUV whips past in under a tenth of a second at almost 1,000 miles an hour. A few seconds later Bill's surroundings tame, as he tries to process what just happened. 5 seconds later Bill realizes he is safe for now, because the tracker trick worked flawlessly. Bill then gets into his truck, speeding off somewhere. Inside the Lightspeed SUV, William, Leah, and Rocky are screaming at the top of their lungs. 20 seconds later Violette shouts they have passed Bill's truck. Violette then turns Bill mode off. A minute later they stop after slowing down to normal SUV speeds. Rocky and Leah then catch their breath and manage to stop crying after the crazy journey. 5 seconds later Violette sees Bill is now off the highway and driving off somewhere. William then jumps back to the passenger seat as they drive off to chase Bill. 10 minutes later Violette drives the SUV into a Burger King parking lot. Violette then sees Bill's truck parked in a fire lane. Rocky then sighs at Bill's sheer lack of respect for authority. The four of them then hear Bill screaming inside at someone or something. 10 seconds later Violette parks her SUV. She then locks up as Rocky, and William gets the chains ready. Leah and Violette then run inside. Rocky and William then prep to chain Bill to the roof of Violette's SUV for his crimes and insanity. 10 seconds later Leah sees Bill is at a slot machine, raging his brains out while playing it. Violette then screams her head off at Bill for driving off with Leah and William and leaving them stranded in the middle of nowhere, destroying the living room TV, torching her priceless glass figurine case, and smashing and destroying over 100 irreplaceable glass figurines. Bill then says he hated the glass figurine case and he loved destroying it. 3 seconds later Violette walks away, beyond pissed. Bill then says he just wanted some Bacon Kings. Bill then ignores his wife as he starts talking with the cashier. 1 minute later Bill orders 50 Bacon Kings, 300 Bacon King meals, 130 large Bacon King meals, and 1,458 piece nuggets. Violette then gulps with pure anger. A few seconds later Bill is handed 6 tokens for the discount slot machine. Bill then grabs his tokens for some small discounts. 2 minutes later Bill starts gambling to get his discounts. 1 minute later Bill screams when he gets 5 you lose. Please try again. 1 second later Bill puts his final token in as he spins the wheel with all his might. 8 seconds later Bill gets a 0.0003% discount. Bill then absolutely screams his heart out for getting a 4-cent discount. Violette and Bill then get into a massive fight. Meanwhile at the SUV, Rocky and William are hastily preparing the chains on Violette's SUV for Bill. 2 minutes later William hops into Bill's truck. 1 minute later Rocky guides William, as he reverses the truck onto the trailer. 3 minutes later they start to chain Bill's truck in place. 4 minutes later they run into the BK after everything is ready. 10 seconds later Rocky and William see Bill punch Violette. Bill then screams with pure anger as he starts screaming death threats towards the staff for the rigged slot machine. 2 minutes later Violette screams at the top of her lungs with rage as she pulls the fire alarm, and rips it off the wall. Everyone then evacuated as Bill grabs a steel sledgehammer out of his folds of fat. 5 seconds later Bill starts to destroy the BK for no good reason. 10 minutes later the BK collapses with Bill still inside. Everyone then cheers as they think Bill is now dead. 10 seconds later Bill walks out of the rubble with a flamethrower. 15 seconds later Rocky, William, and Violette tackle Bill. 1 minute later Rocky and William start to chain Bill to the roof of Violette's SUV. Bill then screams as he gets chained. 5 minutes later, Violette speeds off with Rocky, William, Leah, and Bill who is chained to the roof. 2 minutes later Violette turns onto a highway as she enters Bill mode 3. 10 minutes later they arrive home after a 150-mile journey. 15 seconds later Bill starts to get unchained. Violette then gets a call from the Burger King CEO. 3 minutes later Violette tells Bill that he is permanently banned from every BK in America. Bill then screams with pure anger as his truck is unchained. 5 minutes later Bill furiously speeds off, screaming something along the lines America will be taken care of. Violette, William, Rocky, and Leah then walk into the house. Scared for what's to come. End of part 1.